We are breaking the silence, and you are breaking the silence, and thank you for being here. So, we have Kim Hips tonight, which we've been talking back and forth over the net and email, and she's had a lot of experiences she's going to share with us tonight. Um, as always, we try to get experiencers on the show as much as possible because that's what breaking the silence is all about. But occasionally we do have people that are investigating and are people involved in studying it, and that's fine too. So, uh, and there goes that I know, got it that time. Um, yeah, it's been an interesting week. It's always a push to get the next show done. Again, it's me. Again, I'm talking about something I experienced, but recently, and there was a message in there, and in my trying to understand that. So, I think you'll find it interesting. And we do have a gentleman coming up next Sunday to go in front of camera who's a former uh, fire chief. And he's had some remarkable experiences, and he even made a sculpture of what he saw, full size, at least the head and shoulders. And he's going to come up here all the way from Orange County, and we're going to film him in three pieces. We're going because he's got a long story, so I'm going to turn it into three shows. So you won't be seeing me much more, although for now, next week you will. It looks like if we don't get someone to go in front of camera, what we're doing now, and I want to try is to get someone who's out of state or in the Bay Area or somewhere like that that can't get to our studio to come on here, and I'm going to actually film them on the screen and do some interesting things with that so people realize that the video is of the quality it is because it's coming across the net, but we're going to actually use that as sort of an artistic way of showing it, and then visualize their story, and hopefully they can shoot some b-roll for us with their iPhones on 4K, or even get a voice recorder out and voice record while they're doing the show, and then send me the recording, because all you have to do is this, and I can sync it up and not use the sound you're hearing now coming from here, but rather from a better recorder or an iPhone up close. Works really well. So those are the things that we're working on, trying to expand and get more people with experiences on camera. That's someone sending me a message. So yeah, it was a hard week because there was a lot of things happening, people coming over, and phone calls and doctor's appointments, which Mary told you about, and the anxiety of that all week, knowing I'm going to be looked at again. It's a very painful experience, but at the same time, it's the way you find out every 3 months that you're okay down there. So it's been 9 months now since the surgery. We have had a cystostomy 4 times now, which is where they put a camera up your you know what. They're not up there very long, but just long enough for the camera to look inside and just take a good look at your bladder and make sure everything's okay. And it's always a relief afterwards when the doctor says, "Hey, you look great. You're fine." So next time I go back in August, and after that, if I'm clear, it'll be a year, and then I get to go every 6 months, which I've just found out by talking to another cancer survivor that this is the norm. So, and thank you for all the well wishes. And yes, I'm cancer free at this moment. So, and a little sore and stuff, but well worth it. So, because it's been on my mind all week. Let's bring Kim on. Hi, Kim.
Hi.
Thanks for being here and being part of this. I know you've been going through a lot with health and other things. Um, I know how hard that is, but we're
Yeah,
really
sounds
glad
like
to
you
have you
do.
here. Yeah,
Thank you. I really appreciate the warm welcome, Steve.
no, you're welcome, and everyone else welcomes you here as well. So, uh,
Hi, everyone.
yeah, Kim's been in here a few times um, in the chat, but didn't stay long. But now she's going to stay a whole hour. So we've
Yeah,
got her.
yeah. You've got me. I'm gonna sit still.
So have you ever had any problems with helicopters watching you or anything like that?
Oh yeah, that started in '99 when I first started going down the rabbit hole,
Right.
and I kind of got hooked up with a group online of experiencers, but
Hmm.
it was kind of some kind of trap of some kind. I don't know to this day what it was really all about. I just know I got immediately targeted.
Right.
And one and this was my first computer. The first thing I typed in my first computer was alien abductions, because that was the first thing that I was going to find out everything that I could find out about. And kind of got hooked up with this online group of experiencers. And one day, it was in '99, um, somebody said that they had just had a black helicopter experience and explained how they came like right into their yard, stared them down, were
Yeah.
just feet from them, this kind of thing. And I thought, man, that's crazy. The very next day, it happened to me. And I was such a cocky little 30 something
Yeah.
that
We all
had
were.
decided, nobody's going to intimidate me and nobody's going to scare me. And I walked out onto my back deck, which sat high off the ground, probably about 12 to 15 feet
Oh,
up high.
thank you,
And then
Judy.
I had a
All right.
large, oh, that no problem. I had a large
Much
backyard,
appreciated.
about a 3/4 acre backyard at the time.
Hmm.
And it was park like type setting. And this helicopter came into my yard, not near my yard, not over my house, into my yard. One pilot stared me down like he was really angry at me for some reason. And I did this whole, and I think I did that, you
Yeah, I
know,
did that.
big mistake. Don't flip them.
Well, you do that when you're in your 30s.
You
Now
do.
you
You
now you
you
think,
think you're invincible, and there's no telling what he was doing to me the whole time I was standing there thinking nobody's gonna scare me. So
right.
it happened a day after it happened to somebody in this group. And that's when it really hit me. That first black helicopter experience was the first thing that made me realize I'm not imagining things. There's really something going on. And if they
Sure.
think you're connected with aliens in any way whatsoever, they're going to find everything they can out about you. And they're going to get you to shut up.
Or they'll
And
try.
yeah,
You know.
they try. And at one point I did just go, I'm done. Like, I don't want any more of the rabbit
Okay,
hole.
Jill. Sorry.
No problem. That means somebody
Thank you so
donated,
much.
right? Awesome.
Right.
That's great. So yeah, that was my first black collar black helicopter
Helicopter.
experience. I had two others. Um, and one again, they almost came in. This is a different house than where the first one happened, and it came right into the backyard, just stared at me. And it was definitely an intimidation tactic. I was doing too much online. I was saying too much online. I was coming out online anonymously, not using my real name or
Up to
anything
them,
like
though.
that. But I had a YouTube channel for a little over 10 years where I was trying to expose the deep underground military base issue, because it's
Oh, yeah.
all connected. And that was a rabbit hole that I remember saying to myself, I wished I wouldn't have gone down that. Like, I could have gone my whole life without really knowing what's really going on. Because once you bite that red pill or whatever it
Yeah.
is, there's no turning back. And once you've had your own personal encounters that are unexplainable by modern standards, you don't look at anything the same way ever
Oh,
again.
no. Mm-mm. No. Can I show you something that happened
Yeah.
to Mary and I last night? I'll tell you a little quick story because
Oh,
this
okay.
is your story, and someone will always complain that I shouldn't be telling my stories, but we're talking
No,
about
no.
something that
I
relates.
want you to. I love
So
stories.
so we're watching Surviving Death, which is a Netflix series. It's very good. I'd highly recommend it because these subject matters are definitely connected. I mean, they're joined at
Okay.
the hip. Great series. We took a break, and I'm hearing this helicopter. Here we go, right? Well, I haven't had any of this in a long time. I was harassed for 3-4 years or more, and I have zillions and zillions of pictures of them and video somewhere. But
Yes.
yeah,
It's
this
good.
helicopter was staying or going around, and so I went outside to look at it, and I was out there for a while. And the minute it saw me, you could tell it took an interest in it, and it kept circling and circling. And Mary Fine said, "What's going on?" And I said, "Come on out here. And there's this helicopter out here." Um, and the thing about this helicopter is I'm an aviator and I know the rules, and you are supposed to have anti-collision strobes. Besides
Okay.
the nav lights, you're supposed to have very bright strobes so that other pilots can see you, especially on
Right.
helicopters.
Right.
And he didn't have these at all. They were turned
Interesting.
off. So I'll show you this really this is a very short video. It occurred to me, go back in the camera, back in the house, get the cell phone and get this. So um because by golly, if this stuff happens again, I'm going to start documenting.
I've expected it to happen to me, maybe to keep me from going on today, but it hasn't happened or I didn't hear it. I didn't pay attention.
Well, yeah. I mean, you don't always because you hear helicopters a lot, but this one was. So here we go,
Okay. Last
and the
night.
video will start. And at first, I realized the iPhone was not focusing, but if you take your finger and tap on the light, won't focus. Darn it! There it goes. I got the focus. He was shining light right at us.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, because I got the camera on him. He doesn't like that.
Yeah. And they always get too close, and that's
They
how
know.
you know.
See,
That's
that's
how
what
you
happened
know.
last time.
Yeah. Wow.
Thank you for the good show material.
Goodness. Thank you. And that is so interesting that
Yeah,
I wondered why you were leading with that question. And I was like, well, yeah. And I
well,
wanted to go, doesn't every experiencer have a black helicopter story or two? Because it does seem like that's how they like to intimidate, is they do that first. And if that doesn't work, they do things like hack your system, hack your
right.
credit card and bank accounts.
Or
That's
go to your
about the
place of
only
work.
thing they can never do to Dan and I, is they try to get at our finances. And we have to watch it like a hawk because um, we're targeted. I don't know. We think by some cartel that does nothing but sits around and tries to figure out how to get into people's accounts and spend
Yeah.
their money.
But
You
they sure
know,
spend a lot of money and resources doing this stuff to us. And
yeah,
that
that a
Mary's always
lot.
saying it just doesn't seem to make sense that they would do
It
that.
doesn't. It
They
doesn't. yeah, it doesn't seem to make sense. You know, like, why spend that much money targeting somebody that's really a nobody, and nobody
Yeah.
really believes me anyway? It's not like I've got millions of people that believe my story and want to stand up in Congress with me and fight the deception and all this other stuff. But here's one thing that might make it all make sense. That whole time manipulation, time travel kind of thing. I don't know how they do it, but they manipulate time.
Right.
And it's not just them. There are humans that have this technology, call it the deep state for lack of a better term maybe,
The
but
shadow
the
government. Yeah.
underground civilization that exists underneath this one pretty much and out of sight. And um it just, I forgot where I was going with that. It just, so many things interconnect.
Yeah.
And
No, you know something. They know.
yeah,
They
they
believe
know
you.
that I know
No one else
something.
does.
They
And that's
just
what's
don't
really
know
spooky.
what I remember, because somebody has worked very hard at erasing my memories somehow, or manipulating time in a way that keeps me from remembering things. One of the reasons I'm coming forward right now is because my neurological damage is severe, and I am starting to have memory issues. And what was once really crystal clear to me, because I used to have a photographic memory, I saw everything visually and pictures, which is how they communicated. And so I think people that can think in pictures and symbols and visually are of interest to them. But once they find out, this was one of the points I was going to make. Once whoever the people are find out that you're of interest to them, then they're interested in you. And it seems like you get caught in some kind of tug of war, and not just between two groups, but multiple dimensional effects and realities being affected by you and what they're doing. I don't think I'm doing a very good job of
No, it's very
expressing.
hard to articulate this stuff
It
because
really
it's very
is.
visual and it's also
Yeah,
very feeling based. And some feelings are hard to express in words. They just are.
right,
And
right.
you definitely get that from this. So
Yeah,
did,
yeah.
did you know they don't always use black helicopters? I've got a lot of people asking me over here um, in the comments about that.
Sometimes they're green, I think, dark green, maybe.
Well, yeah, there
Uh,
is, but they can also rent helicopters. And in the case of this
right.
one, which followed my wife home, um,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard you
this
guys
I did
talk
not use a
about that.
telephoto to get this picture. This picture
Wow.
was it was
Yeah.
literally maybe 100 feet up, maybe over our driveway. It had followed her up the street. All the neighbors came out and wonder what's going on. And it was, I think this is a Bell Jet Ranger. It did have numbers on it. I was able to get them, write them down. Had a friend go to the airport and ID'd it. And it was the city of LA, Astro Division, LAPD, and it turned out it wasn't. It was a rental, and it was rented by
Huh.
someone. And they would not give the information about why these people were following at close range my wife home from the grocery store. And the thing, it would not leave. Everyone thought we were in trouble with the law. I think that's what they wanted their neighbors to
Yeah.
think. So
Yeah. It kind of looks like a police car helicopter in a
it did look
way.
like a police
Yeah.
helicopter, but it doesn't have LAPD on it, as it turns out. So the end numbers I got, this was this month, 5/28/1993, and at 4:15 in the afternoon. I was that detailed about all this stuff,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
back then, and because I was being threatened and harassed so much. So
I'm so
let's
sorry.
let's I want to hear about your experiences and when they started, and
Sure.
if you
Sure.
can talk about that.
My earliest memory is about age 3, somewhere between that age 3 to 4 um, time period. I suspect they may have always been at least checking in on me. Um, but there was this telepathic communication, and they liked, okay, well, the first major one that I remember is definitely age 3. And I feel a shift in the atmosphere that's similar to this day, to like if there's like I walk somewhere and there's a lot of spirit activity there. And you feel it. You just feel it all around
I
you.
know the feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, good. I
No,
knew
I
you
think a lot of
would.
people here do. We all
Yeah.
seem to have that.
Yeah. And I would know just before they got there somehow, and it became a game. I remember they liked playing the game of when I could anticipate them and know they were coming, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I remember lots of them wanting to play little psychic games with me. And levitation, I remember flying, floating, levitating, feeling weightless, going on travels with them that felt like they lasted forever. But then I would wake up in my bed the next morning, or I would remember falling back into bed like from a higher, but I'd go really slow and then land into the bed. Um, and my mom doesn't remember me ever talking about it, but she was going through a lot of trauma, and then pretty early in my childhood developed addiction issues. And then she became a licensed marriage family therapist. And so I recently confessed all this to her and said, look, now that you live near me and we're not 1,500 miles apart, there's something I've got to talk to you about, because I've decided I'm going to write a book. And I kind of want to process this with you. She has no memory of me ever saying anything to her. And I remember all these times that I did. So that's kind of frustrating,
That is,
and I
yeah.
hear this happens a lot. Like,
Yeah.
and I feel certain my mom was there during some abductions and was probably abducted too, just because of some of the nightmares, that I've had about her being mute and not being able to talk, or they masked and became her, but it wasn't really her, but I would know it wasn't really her. Um, in my mind anyway, lots of things like that. But I was bringing her up in part because she feels like it was trauma induced. Me think, as a therapist, that's just where her mind wants to go. And there
Mhm.
were a lot of years I wondered, maybe that's right. Maybe there was so much violence and weirdness going on around me as a child that I escaped to this other world with these little beings that made clicking noises, and but were kind to me and nice to me, it seemed, until I got older, and then they didn't seem quite as nice anymore. um, and then some of them do, I think they're like human beings. Some are good and some aren't. Oh, I don't have any volume.
It's me. Nope. There. Am I back? And why am I full screen? Oh, she left. I think she'll be back. She thought she didn't have any volume or something. Evidently, Whitley's been having some interesting things happening when he's doing shows like this. And I sent an email about it today. I'm going to put her back on the stage.
Hey,
Everything
sorry
okay?
about that. Yeah, it showed I was muted, and so
Huh.
I don't know what that was about.
I was saying that we were describing the floating, the levitation, and the flying, and I related that to Peter Pan, and I
Yeah.
remember when I was a kid and I saw Peter Pan, um, well, especially when I went to Disneyland. I was just
Mhm.
I don't know 6 7 years old, and we took that ride where you float over the city, and it just really got to me. I knew
Yeah.
that feeling, and I could relate to it, and it was like, wow, I know
Yeah.
this. But I didn't talk to my parents about it. I just didn't. I just didn't. I didn't think that it was a good idea. It was very strong in me. I can't do this. They'll think I'm crazy or something. But I think that
Right.
was put in my head
Even
too.
the,
I was afraid.
yeah, I think they tell you don't say anything. It's for your own good, or something like that. And
You're
if you
not
can
supposed to
keep a
talk about this.
secret, next time we'll go into the future and we'll look at something
Yeah.
exciting. Or I mean, that's kind of the way I remember it. um, at times. It definitely, that reality was a lot more interesting to me than my own reality that I was living in, for sure. But then again, it seemed anyway that years would go by between events. It wasn't like happening every day, although during certain periods it seemed to just happen so frequently. And I remember them once saying, "There's nowhere that you can go where we can't find you.
Yeah, I
So,
know that.
like, don't even try." And me just feeling so despondent about that. Like, leave me alone. I want to be left alone. I don't want to take part in this anymore, whatever it is. And realizing that no, the best they can do for you is try to erase your memory all the way. And you know
That's not happening.
what I've learned about that is it's really not possible, because the body remembers what the mind forgets, and the unconscious doesn't forget anything. So if
No.
if you try to forget those things, in my life anyway, they come up in nightmares, severe nightmares, you know, and
It's
that's
coming.
why I had to get in touch with all of this to stop the nightmares.
Yeah,
And once I did, the nightmare stopped.
because you understand that this is suppression, and it's coming through,
Right,
come to your
right. There was
subconscious into
so
your
much
conscious the only way
suppression.
it can.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that I was repressing and suppressing that much. I thought I remembered my episodes well enough and thought it was a small handful,
Mhm.
but my
Yeah,
dreams were saying otherwise.
yeah.
And I had to face them, and those dreams affected me so much. Like living lifetimes in a dream, and then waking up from it and then going, that's not possible, but it happened.
Kim, you're being asked questions from Rachel. She
Oh,
says, what were your experiences? So
What were my experiences with the aliens, the paranormal? I guess I'm not sure what.
so you're also a person that if you go into a building or a house
Right.
a store that was once a house, like in my case,
Right.
you're sensitive to the spirits that are there.
Extremely sensitive. And at one point in my overall exploration, I realized that the dead weren't going to quit talking to me.
Right. Now you
So I
told me
might
about
as
this in your
well
emails.
make them work
So
for me. I used to joke and say I was going to make those bitches work for me if they wouldn't
right,
shut up, you know.
right.
And it was just kind of a defensive joke because I finally like reached this point where I'm like, I might as well do readings for people because I found it so healing watching them connect with whoever they needed to connect with. It wasn't always who they wanted to that would come through, but I saw a lot of healing when I did mediumship work. And I found that really gratifying. But it also opened me up to things. And there is something about doing that kind of work that you open yourself up. You open doorways you didn't intend to open, and things get through those doorways that you thought you were strong enough to keep out. And then you end up realizing, oh, wow, what have I gotten myself into here?
Yeah.
And so I walked away from mediumship because I about had a nervous breakdown from the nightmares, not sleeping. Um, and I got to say, that's the best money I've ever made, in my whole life.
But
Like,
it's really hard.
but it's hard. And so many people want a particular answer about something, and that just really isn't the way it works.
Yeah.
So you try to do your best, um, but you kind of end up feeling like you're a performing monkey. And that's not what I wanted to be. Um, and so I'll probably never go back into that
Yeah.
again,
You
because I have to protect myself so much psychically
yeah.
and spiritually because I don't have the physical energy to be giving it out to all these parasites in the universe,
Yeah.
you know? And whether you're talking about even the kind aliens, they kind of get parasitical with us. And so, in my own experiences, I had to reach this point where I went, stop. I've been going through this my whole life. I even got a hysterectomy so they'd leave me alone.
You have a question here from Steel Swarm. It's a really good one too. It says,
Okay.
Kim, do you think the reason these non-human entities took an interest in you is because of these psychic powers you possess?
Yes, I don't know what came first.
Yeah.
Um, I do know that traumatic things and things that happen to you that are kind of outside of reality, they do have studies that show that can induce psychic ability. So were the things that were done to me, and there's also some weird Luciferian stuff on my father's side of the family that happened to me when I was little, and there's definitely a connection with all of that that's hard to piece together.
Yeah. Um, and also, people were asking about your different experiences. Now, you sent me a few emails that really detailed the different types of experiences you've had, and the fact that um, you are sensitive to spirits and have that paranormal aspect, as well as having non-human intelligence, whatever it may
Right.
be, aliens, whatever
Right.
you want to call it,
Right.
extraterrestrials. Um, and I think some of the people who are interested in what kind, and you did send me a drawing. You did a quick drawing that shows one being that you felt fondly of, and
Yeah. There's this one female being that's super tall, super thin, really long arms, the most brilliant blue eyes you can imagine. I mean, they're just mesmerizing. Um, Kind of hybridy looking features, but is definitely one of them. There's like this electric blue energy that comes off her and some others that I've seen. And I've noticed that electric blue thing is a common theme, that a lot of people see a lot of blue, blue lights. But, her eyes are so blue, they're not human blue, they're electric blue. And she has come to me many times in my life while I've been ill. And at least once she has worn kind of this squared off looking old nurse hat, is what it looked like to me. Now, I'm a former nurse, so that may be her way of letting me know, see this hat, I'm like a nurse is
right.
on earth.
Yeah, I get that feeling from this drawing. I mean, it's
Yeah, yeah. And she warns me about health things and lets me know that I'm being looked after. Um, just before I gave birth to my son, just a few days before that, I dreamt about her. And it was the most intense dream I've probably ever had. And at first, I was trying to get away from her because I was frightened. And then she moves her arm out, and it's like it grows another 10 feet or whatever and grabs, to pull me back in, because she really wants me to pay attention to what she's about to say. And she just says, "Take good care of him,
well.
my son." And
Mhm.
I said, I always say and ask stupid little childish questions, but I said, "So are you like his spirit, Mom?" And she just said something like that.
Hmm.
And that was it. That was the dream. But she was letting me know there was going to be an issue, but everything would be okay.
Right.
And so my son, he had the cord wrapped around his neck and was born blue
Hmm.
and born cold. And it took them several hours to warm him up, but he was fine.
That's
And that was her letting me know there's going to be an issue, but I just want you to know everything's going to be okay with the baby. Now take good care of him.
yeah, dreams. I mean, you don't usually have direct communication with another person or an entity and have it make as much sense as that did. The actual communication. Usually, um, when I have just crazy
Yeah.
dreams, there is communication there, and but it's different. It's just it's not the same as this sort of, you're awake and this person's right there and you're really connecting with them, and it's not drone like or strange,
Right.
and
Right.
yeah,
Right.
so
Yeah.
wow. Um, you also sent some pictures of some of the physical marks that you have.
Yeah. The what I call the vaccine mark.
Right. I think that's this one.
Right. And you can see it's got four edges
Right.
um that are really straight.
Yes.
And when it first happened, I sent the picture to Dr. Lear because it was glowing blue. There's blue again.
Yeah.
I took a picture of it in the dark and it showed glowing blue, and in the mirror in the dark bathroom it
It
showed
almost looks
glowing.
diamond shaped.
Yes, diamond
Yeah.
shaped is what I call it. And it happened at one of those, realizing I was just coming back from an experience, hear that kind of high pitched vibrational noise that's so familiar. And then I feel a sting in my arm and I wake up in my bed. And I knew it was them, but I'm like, what is this? You've never done anything like this to me before. And later that day is when I got that message. Um, Again, they're brief with their messages, but
Yes,
they're
that's really true.
they're you can remember them that way. Number one, um, but each word has a power. They choose their words very, very carefully.
Yeah.
And they just said, we can take you and return you in the very second we took you. And that's why you cannot remember what happened.
They know how temporal mechanics actually work and
Right,
how to use it.
right, right.
Wow.
And they give a lot of clues about quantum mechanics, uh, so many things my mind isn't really able to grasp. But for example, they might say to me, you are the local point, and then when you start kind of reading up and you realize, oh, I'm the local point and they're the non-local point, and they're trying to talk to me about quantum physics.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, I don't really have a brain for that, but it's always fascinating when they give you another clue like that.
When it comes to quantum physics, even the people scientists that are studying it now and the results coming back from the James Webb Telescope, they don't understand it either.
Right.
It's gone completely wacko, and they're having to
Right.
change how they look at things
That's
because the
funny.
old physics just don't seem to really work. Some of it does, some of it doesn't, and
Right.
it's a real problem. Um, you also sent this.
Right. I am now officially allergic to sunlight. And that's about 10 minutes worth of being out in the sun
Wow,
in March.
I'm
So
sorry to hear that.
even a few minutes and I start breaking out in painful blisters, um, prickly, stabbing, just so painful. And then once it swells up like that, I can't get rid of it. Well, I can. It
So this
just
is an
takes a
allergy.
while.
Yeah.
And yeah, my neurologist says it's an actual allergy to the sun. And he had a big fancy name for it that I can't remember right now.
Right.
But it's because of my immune system disorder, multiple sclerosis. And there is a small percentage of people with autoimmune disease that do develop this.
Hmm.
So,
Mary and I have Hashimoto's.
oh, okay, my sister has that.
Mhm.
So, um, I think I was going to bring this up to you that I've realized, I think I would say I started researching um, other abductees, experiencers. They're 99 for sure is when that rabbit hole was jumped down. And one of the things I realized pretty quick, especially after I got my own diagnosis in 2008, is that a lot of us end up with autoimmune disease. And a lot of abductees end up with um, brain lesions on an MRI, showing that brain damage has occurred due to inflammation of some kind due to something. Even when you get your multiple sclerosis diagnosis, they don't know what causes that, but it's becoming an epidemic. I do think an MMR played a role in mine. Um, at 9 months, I got really, really sick and almost died. It was like 104 and a half temp. And they had, back then, you didn't just run to the doctor, and they did an ice bath and put me in an ice bath, which of course traumatized me for
Yeah.
sure, if nothing else had. And
Yeah.
so, it's just, I'm noticing a lot of autoimmune disease, period. But it just seems like a lot of experiencers come down with cancers and other autoimmune diseases.
Yeah. I've
Like,
noticed this as well. And, I mean, I got cancer and it was, but it was bladder cancer. We caught it early and it's at
so
stage
glad.
1. It took
Oh, good,
surgeries, we got
good.
rid of it. And,
Yes, you got rid of
but
it.
you wonder if it's from that. I don't know. I don't know for
Right.
sure. I do have allergies. I never used to have allergies. And only within the last 20 years have they come on strong. They're the worst they've ever been currently. Whitley and I have talked about this because he has terrible allergies. And so,
Interesting.
so, so you communicated with Roger, and I think you mentioned that in some of the emails. And of course, Roger and I were good friends, close friends,
Yeah,
spent a
that's
lot of time
great.
together.
I can't
You know,
believe he's gone. I wish
no,
I
I
would
know,
have
I know.
contacted him again
I can
before we
steer how
lost
that
him.
gravelly voice of his, and yeah, I really miss him. It
Do you
was
know if he handed off his research to anybody?
I don't know what happened to it. I heard
Okay.
different things. I know the family was very much in once he passed that he didn't want to let anybody in the UFO community near his stuff. I mean, he had
Right.
my X-rays of my arm, and which I wanted, and
Right.
we couldn't get anything. And as far as the
Oh,
implants are
really?
concerned, I don't know what happened to them. I think Daryl Sims got hold of some of them, and if he's got them, no one's ever going to see them again.
Really?
Yeah. So he wanted to remove the implants that I had, but I didn't want to have it done. I just didn't think it was right to have them removed. For all I knew, they were keeping me alive, you know.
Right.
And the one in my ear, I know is some sort of that allows me to communicate or them to communicate with me. So I leave that alone.
Where
Uh,
at in your ear is that
it's
implant?
it's it's in my right ear, just the same as Whitley's, you know.
Okay.
And it's still very functional, and it hurts sometimes, and it moves. Do you have anything like this?
Well, I don't know. I have a lot of pain in my right ear all the time. They looked at it, they don't see anything wrong. It could be trigeminal neuralgia
Right.
issues due to spasticity and nerve damage in this part of my body. But let me tell you when my ear pain started. That's what makes me suspicious about it. Something kept getting on my bed early in the morning, and it was a spirit of some kind, but it seemed more animal like, and I would sense it and feel it, but I would keep my eyes closed, try to see what it was about. It kind of made a slithering, snaky kind of noise. And this was in 2008, when my health was reaching that critical mass point where we didn't know what was wrong with me yet, but we were about to find out. And I was having severe migraines, but it all started when this entity, a friend of mine, suggested just see what it wants, let it to basically do what it wants. Well, it kept trying to touch in between my legs, and I wasn't having that. So it kind of like came up around and it touched my right temple. And right as it did, I saw blue light again, just
Oh
this
boy.
electric blue searing light. I had severe pain, and then several years of severe migraines started. And the migraines are better now, but I've got this weird keloid like scar that I have no idea where it came
Hmm.
from right here. And I get stabbing ear pain, but they can't find anything wrong. But they didn't take an x ray. They, just looked in and said, I had some earwax. They took that out. It was impacted. So they thought, well, this is probably going to help your ear. But I get a lot of stabbing ear pain in the right ear. So that's why you kind of really got my interest there on the ear implant thing.
Mine's a little like grain of rice.
Rice.
I can feel it, and it's right. It's right up in here, and
Okay.
and it will move on its own. And
Yeah.
um, when
Interesting.
I'm thinking about it, or I'm around other people who have these experiences and stuff, I can. It's not super painful, but I can feel pain from it, heat from it, and it's been there for at least, well, since the first time I knew it was there was in the 90s. That's when I became aware of
Yeah.
it. When it appeared was in the 90s, out of nowhere. And
Well, that
um,
was a strange time for you, the
yeah, that
90s.
was a rough time. It really was. The 90s was pretty bad with everything that was going on. I mean,
Yeah.
stuff was happening almost every night, every week. It was crazy, and it was just completely out of control, and drove my wife insane practically. So
Oh,
that's why she told me to leave.
oh man.
Do you feel it moving, Steve? That's got it. Yeah, I do, and it is uncomfortable, but most of the time I don't think about it, I don't notice it, and so it's okay. Right now it's kind of hurting, kind of moving. I think I've got these on, so um, but whenever I talk about the subject, it starts to bother me. And um, Kim,
Yeah.
what's going on currently? Are you still hearing spirits and having
Um,
experiences and the
I had,
dreams? Because the
I had
dreams are a
to.
very real part of this, and
Yeah,
people
the
discount
dreams
them all
you
the time.
you can't control. I'm definitely still having dreams, but no more nightmares.
Right.
Like I quit having nightmares once I really confronted all this stuff and realized that I couldn't fight it, and I needed to accept that this is what's been going on. But I ended up getting some real nasties from the spirit realm. Um, my own, I didn't think I believed in demons, but the messages I was getting back, like from my own grandmother, was shame on you for becoming demon food. Stop this, stop it now.
Oh,
Doing the electronic voice phenomena recordings. And in the end, and maybe it's because I was raised a Christian, um, I had to call on God because it was all, it had just all culminated in a meltdown, in a sense, for me. I couldn't take anymore. And I basically said, I am no longer available. The door is shutting. Leave me alone. I need to just heal my physical body and get through each day. And I don't want to mess with this anymore.
yeah,
Um,
I understand, and I've heard this many times from people. And
really.
the amazing thing, oh sure, and the amazing thing about it is that whatever you believe in, with God, is that when they ask either the angels or God or whatever spirit, great spirit they believe in, for it to stop,
Right.
it has.
Yeah. And it
You
did,
know, I don't know if it always does, but I've heard numerous times it has people said, "I want this to be gone," and it
Yeah.
could be as simple as that. You know that the visitors, for lack of a better description, that they're dealing with actually respect that, and I do know
Right.
that they will.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you don't want to do this anymore, so and they will back away. So
There's the spirit realm has left me alone. I still have dreams, and in the dreams, the whoever they are, the tall beings, I call them the tall ones,
mhm,
um, that show me things about the future,
mhm.
show me what, is going on. I'm still very receptive to having those dreams because so far they've never lied to me.
Mhm.
And if they say something's going to happen, it's going to happen. And I'm very concerned about the state of affairs in the world right now
We all are.
because, at one point I thought the visitors won't let that happen, like a nuclear bomb going off. But no, they're not. They've already said they're not going to let that happen through other people, like the Galactic Council, that kind of thing.
That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Um,
It's up to
but they're
us.
not going to let a nuclear bomb go off. Well, I'm here to tell you, I have seen it happen.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen in a very strange location. And when I tell you the name, you're going to be like, what? But it's going to happen in Latvia, of all places. And it's going to happen in response to the Russian Ukrainian war situation. And it's going to happen after China gets involved and is working with Russia. That much I can tell you. Lithuania is also involved, but I've been shown that it's going to happen.
That'll
And
that'll be a
I
huge
thought
mistake for the
there's no
Russians.
way they would let that happen. And if they can see that that's going to happen, why aren't they going to stop it,
No, we have to stop it.
Yeah, I think we're the
That's
only
what it's all
one.
about.
We're the only ones that can stop it, and I think things have gone too far already, and there are some tough days ahead, especially for Americans that have never had to stand in long lines to get food before, to get water, to get gas. Um, Everything that's happening in Israel and Palestine, it's going to eventually affect us all here as individuals. We can't skirt that. So I brought that up only to say that they do keep showing me world events things, and then I I weigh it by other dreams I've had, and when it seems like they're like, when it's really serious, it's like they show it to you on a huge screen so you don't miss it.
Yeah.
And it's like you're watching a movie
Mhm.
and they're like, watch this. And those dreams are hard to wake up from.
Yeah, we've all had them.
Yeah, I
Everyone
think
here that
so.
has these experiences have had these, and
Yeah.
it's very, very common. I mean, I was shown the trade centers before it
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
shown a nuke going off. I don't know where it was going off, but I watched it at night, and it was red, and it was
Wow.
just horrifying. And I've been shown cities with people who looked like they were corpses, but they were still alive, and they were holding their babies. And I did drawings of all this stuff because
That's horrifying.
Yvonne had me do it. how bad things went. But this is a possible outcome. It doesn't have to be the outcome, and
Right.
this is meant to engage us to make efforts to stop it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have a dog.
Yeah. Sorry.
Good.
He was going to try to keep her quiet for me, but she's a lab. You know how it is.
Oh, I love them.
Um,
We need to save this world for our children,
yeah.
but we also need to save it for our Labradors. I'm telling you,
They do.
and
And
all the
they
birds
do make the
outside and
world a
everything. And
better
so
place.
this just cannot be
There's
allowed.
licks and all that. But I do think, on a more positive note, and I do think you have to look at the negative as you're reaching towards that positive ideal
Sure.
at times. But we are reaching some kind of climax right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel it, you feel it, everyone feels it. Time, time, ooh, what's the word I'm looking for? It's moving quickly. And I think we all just have to really listen to those dreams and those weird experiences that don't make any sense, because I have found eventually it makes sense. If the experience doesn't make sense right when I'm having it, like a paranormal encounter with some red mass of a cloud being or whatever that I had once, I'm thinking of. Um, it's like the darkness kind of defines the light, you know? It's
Sure.
like those dark encounters help you reach into a place within you that you didn't realize you could face, fears, for example. And I think all of it is about facing our fears as human beings. And only when we can face those fears and face the monsters in the closet or the aliens that take you out the window and up through the ceiling, and you have no power over that, no control over that. um, you do get to a point where you realize I'm a part of this somehow then.
Hmm.
And I've somehow, on some soul level, made a choice somewhere to jump in and be a part of this for some reason. And it's kind of like a faith in your higher self that gets you through the confusion. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
There's a great Peter Gabriel song that I always think of when we talk about things like this. And one of the lines, well, is "Shock the monkey."
Oh
Shock
yeah.
the monkey,
Yeah.
shock the monkey to life.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
certainly are the planet of the apes, and what we're trying to do is create that shock. But it's it's we're being influenced, I feel, to do it, and it's
Right.
positive. It's not negative. There was a
Right.
question here, Kim. Do you have any idea you want to share of what will be the accumulation of the buildup? You it keeps moving. I got to move it back up.
Hate when that happens.
Yeah, as I try to probably build up, and how many more are feeling we are heading. You and many more are feeling we are heading to. Yvonne's group, the group that I'm part of, have been for 35 years. Ciro and Yvonne Smith, they call it the urgency.
Yeah. That's a
So
good word for it. And it's definitely an urgency right now.
yeah.
You know, we've been looking at all of this since at least the 90s, and
Hmm.
look how far it has come since the 90s. And it really only 2 years ago it seemed like they had shut up all us 90s people and we were gone and nobody was going to talk about it anymore. And then people like you are getting back into it.
Yeah.
Um, and other people in our age group especially is leading the way right now and being really vocal, I think, because we don't have anything left to lose. um it has to be talked about. You can't not talk about it when it affects your life so much.
Yeah. It's, we all want to live our lives and get up in the morning, have a nice breakfast with our loved ones, and go about what we call doing normal things.
Right.
And this is being pressed on us all the time. And I think for the most part, it's building strength in us on a level that we never could have imagined. And it's, I don't know, maybe that's part of evolving for the human species.
Yeah, I
Um,
for sure, for sure that it's
yeah,
part of our evolution and our our growth if we choose to take it.
yeah, it's like Philip Corso said. He asked the visitors, what's in it for us if we let you into our lives, and they responded, "A new world if you can take it."
Right. I love that line.
Yeah, I mean that's basically it
Think
in a
of it a
nutshell.
lot,
So,
actually.
and
I
we
think
need a
of it
new
a
world.
lot.
We need a new
Yeah.
world where we're
We
not
do
worrying about
need a
nukes
new
and blowing
world.
each other up. Yeah.
Right, right.
At this time, this is the best time, everyone. If you want to ask Kim some questions or share um, something you found familiar, as I did in her testimony here today, now's the time. Um, I really enjoyed this, Kim, because you really talked more about your feelings about all this, um, and what you've been thinking about as a result of your experiences with all of this than the actual nuts and bolts of they came through my window and they took me. We've heard that so many times. Um,
Right,
and it's always interesting, but it's really about how it's affected you, what you feel, how you're looking at the world as a result in reality. Because as you pointed out, once these things have happened to you, you never see things the same. You're not in the same
right,
reality as the other humans all around you. You're in this
right,
different reality, and they can't relate to it until they experience it themselves. And so we try to share our experience with them as best we can and hope that they'll listen
right, right,
and look into it for themselves. Because if they do, they'll find out that, my God, millions of people, not thousands, millions of people have
right.
these experiences. And yeah, so this is,
Yeah, it's definitely millions, I believe, and I'm starting to think everybody. And and that just seems like unfathomable, but for sure a lot of people have experienced this.
yeah. We've got Steele's Warm has asked, Kim, the nurse entity you saw, has it shared more information about the place it came from, or how it relates to you?
Yeah, the interactions are always so quick, like, um, and I'm lucky to get a sentence, and it's usually a sentence that I get, a phrase that I get, and it's always also like an unexpected thing. And like I said, it's usually centered around me being sick or somebody I love or The last time, for example, that it happened was in August 2021 when I had a hip replacement. I've had two now, and that was my second. And for some reason, the morphine and the anesthesia stuff and the narcotic, it just didn't affect me the same as it has in the past. And I was hallucinating her and others like her in my hospital room. Um, and I, I've told you about how basically August of 2021 is when I was coming off those drugs. I had a really bad reaction, and neurologically, something happened to me, and I couldn't stop moving my eyes back and forth. They were going back and forth really fast, side to side, and I couldn't stop it. And I was in bed, and I just started crying out for help. And I could barely say help me, but I just started over and over and over and over, help me, help me, help me. And I felt like I felt like I was dying, like something really had gone wrong. And all of a sudden, I'm in this dream state, and a lot of the familiar entities, but several of them had colored suits on this time and looked more like Power Rangers. And I remember saying to him, I don't know why you have those on your head. You know, I know who you are, which I thought was really bizarre. And something was really happening with my neurology, and they had me look into this optical view something, and my eyes had to be still enough just for a second. They had to try to get them to be still so that they could stop what was happening to me. And I mean, this was happening in real life, my eyes and everything. That wasn't like just a dream. This really was happening. And they finally, I looked into this thing, and there was like a light shining in my eyes, and it stopped. And I was so grateful. I was so grateful to them, because I just can't begin to tell you how disorienting it
Oh, I
was.
can imagine.
And then they started showing me things, and all of a sudden, like future things with regarding the wars. And all of a sudden, I have like these full recall memories come. And I shouted out, you guys have been showing me this stuff since I was 7 years old. Like I just remembered it right there. Like, oh my God, they've showed me this stuff since I was 7 years old. And seven is when I wrote a I don't want to be here anymore letter, and said that I felt like there had been some bad mistake and I did not belong here. And I can't help, and I went through a depression, but I had gotten the mumps and then got really depressed after that. And I think back now to that letter that I wrote. And by the way, I remember saying that I wanted to go back to my crystal city. And then about a year or two later, I wrote a story in grade school about the crystal city that I was from. And, you know, I still think about that crystal city.
Have you ever seen the movie The Day Time Ended?
I
I
had
wrote
to,
I wrote and produced it. It was a big feature with
oh,
uh,
okay.
Dorothy
I'll have
Malone in it and Jim Davis and
I've got
um,
to watch that then.
yeah,
It sounds familiar, like maybe I have, but
the-
because of my short-term memory
right,
issues, I have to watch something several times usually. And
yeah.
each time is like the first time, and it's always like
It
brand
was
new again.
it was
So,
in 1978, and they wouldn't let me direct it, but I wrote it and produced it, and they just kind of did things their way. They didn't exactly stick to my script, which was disappointing. But
of course
that
not.
being said, if you watch the film, and that goes for all you guys here, it's called The Daytime Ended. Originally, it was called Vortex, which is a much more appropriate
Huh.
title.
I
But
love that
but
name.
yeah, well, the guy who was spending all the millions of dollars having the movie made said the audience will never understand what vortex means, so he changed it to The Daytime Ended. And but it's there's a surprise for you at the end, and
Okay.
and a lot of other
Oh,
ones
I'm
too,
gonna watch
because
it
they
tonight.
kept in all the stuff from that I didn't know I was taking from my experience and putting right into the script. So
Right, right.
and it had something to do with the city. So
Oh, cool. I can't
yeah,
wait to watch
if you
that.
get a chance to watch that. Wow, Kim, I want to thank you for being here with us tonight
Thank you for having
and
me.
sharing and breaking your silence.
Thanks
And,
for letting me break my
you're gonna
silence.
write that book, are you?
I am gonna write that book. If the issue will be, I don't want it to be a this happened, this happened, this happened. I want it to be something that connects all the pieces in a way that brings us to current events, that like I just don't want it to be like an abductee story
Hmm.
necessarily. So
Yeah.
that's why I struggle when I do start writing, because I got to tell that part of it, and that part's, you know, got to be somehow expressed. It's hard to express the supernatural and the paranormal. um these experiences have to be expressed, but I want it to be about something more than my personal experiences.
I get it.
And I don't know why. And when I finally figure it out, I think I'll be able to write it in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But I've got to be able to figure out what that pivotal thing is going to be in the book that both helps people see what's happened, what's happening, but helps them see, for example, how crucial it is that we wake up
Yep.
and stop killing each other on this planet.
That's what it's all
Because,
about, and we're all getting that.
yeah,
We're
yeah,
all getting that.
yeah,
Um, you're
yeah.
welcome, Steel Swarm. A lot of people are thanking you
Thank you
for
guys
being
very
here.
much for having me. And I've watched several other interviews with other people, and it was so inspiring. And I have a lot in common with a lot of people out there
You
that
sure do.
watch your show and have told you their story. So it's nice to see this happening. And I love your artwork and
Oh,
what
thank
you're
you.
doing with the film. I'm a very visual person, so I'm really appreciating
I
it.
think we all are in this group. I really
Yeah,
do.
I
This
think, yeah,
community.
that was one of the things I had written down as things I've noticed, common themes between us all. That was one of the things that yeah, we're all, a lot of us are neurodivergent. I noticed very visual learners, um psychic abilities, other paranormal events separate from what seem to be the others. I like noticing patterns. So I think it's cool that enough people are talking that we can
Yeah.
connect the dots together. It's
So
great.
we'll see all of you, well, some of you anyway, tomorrow night in the And we a pre-premiere live chat, which starts at 4, and then of course the premiere of the latest episode 14.
Thank you, Kim.
Oh, thank you, Mary. Nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
You're welcome, Judy. All right, Kim. Thanks again.
Thank you so
And
much, Steve.
really,
This
thank you
was
from the bottom
lovely.
of our hearts. We really appreciate and love you.
Same here. It
And
feels good
love all of you.
having told you that I'm an abductee
Okay.
or something. I'm something.
Something. Yeah.
We'll figure it out someday together.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
We'll see you tomorrow.